How well can AI help you analyze an earnings report today? That's what I'm going to attempt to answer. I'm going to compare the results using Excel's built-in Copilot add-on through the web version of Copilot, ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, and see which one does the best job of analyzing this earnings report. Now, with Excel's Copilot right now, it's pretty much a fairly basic setup in terms of capabilities. It can't do a whole lot. Right now, if I just click on my data set here, even if I select this data, it'll be a little bit disappointing because if we click on Analyze Data, it's not going to give us any sort of insight. It basically tries to put everything into a pivot table or into a chart, tries to automatically detect charts. So for right now, Copilot in Excel anyways is not going to be very helpful for this purpose. I just wanted to show you what it's able to do right now. And basically, you want to have your data in a nice clean table format, and then it can analyze stuff and show you suggested charts and pivot tables. But as far as analyzing data like this, not terribly useful right now in Copilot. So I'm going to switch gears now and use the actual web versions of these different AIs. And I'm going to show you first what I'm actually using as my input. So this is Intel's most recent earnings report. And I basically took a snippet of it, and I'm going to copy and paste that into these different chatbots to see what results it gives me. So first thing I'm going to do is use the Copilot version on Microsoft, copilot.microsoft.com. So I'm going to paste my image there. You can see it's uploaded there. And I'm going to ask it to analyze this earnings report. How did the company do? So no additional information. That's all I'm going to do. And at the same time, I'm going to go into the other chatbots as well. I'm going to go to ChatGPT, do the same thing, analyze report. How did the company do? Simple enough. And let's do it in Claude as well. And we can compare our answers. And then Gemini as well. So I don't want to give it too much instructions really because I just want to see initially what kind of analysis it's doing. So this is copilot.microsoft.com. So what it's telling me is just basically bare kind of analysis here. It tells me that revenue increased, cost of sales increased, gross margin decreased. It went from an operating income, now this is a bit hard to read, but 1.96 billion to an operating loss of 20 million. Net income before taxes. So really rudimentary analysis. Tells me that there's a slight increase in gross revenue. It's just the companies faced some financial challenges during this period. It's important to consider these figures in context of the overall health. So not really, please consult with financial advisors. So not really a whole lot of analysis in Microsoft's Copilot right now, just giving us really basic sort of analysis. Now let's switch over to Claude. So I haven't used Claude much, so let's take a look what it's telling us. So same sort of thing. It's telling us that the changes as far as revenue and gross margin goes, and it tells us that gross margin improved. And actually, the one thing I'm noticing as I'm reading this is that Claude told me that revenue decreased from 12.949 to 12.833. Now, if I go back to the earnings report, the revenue did, in fact, decrease from 12.949 to 12.833. Now, Copilot, though, it told me that there was a slight increase. So it actually interpreted the results incorrectly. It looked at the wrong starting period. So here it told me it increased from 12.833 to 12.949 when actually the reverse was true. So I was reading it from left to right. It wasn't paying attention to the header. So that was a bit disappointing there for Copilot that I read that one wrong. So Claude actually correctly saw that the revenue actually did decrease, and so that's it's a bit more accurate in that regard. But in terms of the analysis, still sort of similar, looking at the comparables, whether it increased, whether it decreased, and then we've got key factors contributing. So increased operating expenses, especially R&D and restructuring, significant decrease in interest and other income, lower tax benefit compared to the previous. So financial performance has declined considerably with the company moving from a profit to a loss. The increase in R&D spend and restructuring suggests the company is investing in future growth and undergoing significant changes, but these are currently weighing on its bottom line. So it asks me if I want to elaborate further, but overall it gives me a little bit of analysis, basically high-level overview. So overall, better than Copilot in that sense, because Copilot even was comparing the wrong periods. Next up, let's look at Gemini. So it tells me, so it's a bit of a cleaner setup. It tells us what the revenue was for the period. So it tells us again that revenue is slightly decreased from the previous quarter. So again, it tells us correctly that revenue went down. Net income, so it's giving us a bit of a cleaner analysis in terms of the setup. So I do like that it's easier to read. It's not just one line at a time. So doing some basic reviews, so it gives me some key takeaways. So revenue is decreased slightly, potential slowdown in sales, move from a profit to a loss, negative EPS, tells us gross margin. So not really a lot of new analysis that it hasn't already done in terms of telling us the change. So let's take a look. It says it would be beneficial to analyze the cash flow, balance sheet, industry comparison. So overall, not a whole lot more. So I say so far Claude has done a better job at analyzing and providing some more useful insights. Gemini is pretty similar in terms of Microsoft's Copilot, obviously, but the main difference is Gemini at least got the periods right to analyze. Now, lastly, let's go into ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, this is the analysis it gave me. So it tells me net revenue decreased slightly, modest decline. Cost of sales and gross margin, operating expenses, so investing heavily into future technology and products. Restructuring and other charges saw a significant increase, which heavily impact overall losses. Company reported a net loss, a significant decline. So it's giving me a bit more analysis. It tells me that there was a tax benefit compared to the previous period. So it tells me the challenges. So Intel is facing challenges in maintaining its profitability, as evidenced by the increased restructuring charges, higher R&D, and resulting net losses. On a positive note, its continued investment in R&D may position the company well for future innovations, but it's currently weighing heavily on its financials. The significant increase in restructuring indicates it might be going under substantial changes in its operation, which obviously it is. And then market reaction, given the negative net income and loss per share, this report may lead to a negative market reaction unless there are strong justifications or forward-looking statements. So in summary, shows a significant financial strain with increased costs related to a substantial net loss. However, the company's ongoing investments in R&D suggest it's focused on future growth, albeit at a significant short-term cost. So overall, if I were to rank these AIs in terms of ability to analyze earnings report, I would say definitely ChatGPT looks to be the best one right now in terms of doing that. You know, it got the right periods. It showed me the main changes, and it also did a bit more of analysis and, you know, some more insights than I would have liked to see. Claude, I would say, gets the second spot just because, you know, it did a good analysis. It did some analysis as well. I'd say Gemini comes in after that just because it really didn't do a whole lot of analysis, but it did have a nice clean setup in terms of being able to organize the information, make it easier to read. But that being said, I've already got it in a table format, so I don't know how much value this really adds. And then lastly is Copilot, which is the most disappointing just because I gave the exact same screenshot and it got the order wrong. So it told me that there was an increase in revenue. And so it's got that part wrong there. And upon further review, actually, now I'm paying close attention, I see that it actually made more than just that mistake, because if we see things like operating income went from an operating income of 1.96 billion to an operating loss of 20 million. Well, if you look at the operating income, it actually had a loss in both periods. So it seems to be that there was an issue with Copilot being able to accurately read the picture and know, you know, what numbers it was comparing. and which one lined up to which one. So I was a bit disappointing there as well. So let's just double check the other ones as well if they made similar types of mistakes. So ChatGPT correctly got that 1.964 billion in this current period compared to a loss of 1.016 billion, which would go back to the report. That is correct, 1964 versus 1016. If we go to Claude, operating loss worsened from 1016 to 19. Again, that one was correct. If we look at Gemini, this one did not. Did it look at operating income? It did. 1964 to 1016. So again, it had the right thing. It told me operating income worsened. So a little bit disappointing that Microsoft's Copilot was the one that got it wrong on multiple levels. So it could be an issue with the OCR and being able to read the image correctly, whereas the other AIs didn't seem to have issues with that. So I would say definitely the best one so far is ChatGPT in terms of analyzing that with Claude. Also a good one to consider, but Microsoft's Copilot is definitely the most disappointing one of these AIs. So if I were to suggest one based on this, I'd definitely go with ChatGPT.